Hi, everybody. At Skating PJ here with the 3 Turn 3 crew. Okay, introduce yourselves for the final show this season.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mazin.
Hi, I'm Char.
And I'm PJ, as we just said. Okay, guys, it's our final show of the season.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, exactly. I've had so much fun doing this. How about you guys?
My tissues ready.
Absolutely.
I thought
This
that was
has
some
been
sort of
such a
paper
treat.
bell.
You know, ladies,
No,
honestly,
it's my
this has been
tissue.
such a treat. Look at the tissues already coming out. Wait, I gotta find. Okay, you know what? I'll just blow into my. That's the way we're
Leave
supposed to
it.
do it nowadays, right?
Yeah, I don't understand the whole elbow thing, by the way, because I can't reach my elbow anyway. I'm still going to cover my mouth with my hands. Sorry, people, I'm old school, but then I go wash my hands.
That's it. That's it. This has been so much fun, ladies. You know what? We've been able to do exactly what we wanted to do, which was talk positively about skating, promote Ontario individuals from coaches, choreographers, skaters, and I mean, being able to also introduce our spotlight performance. I think it's just been great.
Well, and It's funny that you should say the other group that we've been trying to highlight, and we're going to today in Skate Ontario Spotlight, is Paul Cotter, who is an absolutely legendary announcer and volunteer. And he just retired at Scarborough, where he started, which he started at Scarborough Skate 35 years ago, if you can believe it. So we're going to hear from him shortly. But at the moment, let's go quickly to Skate Ontario News. Da, 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 da. Okay, the biggest thing that I want to mention is that for today's April 29th, May the 1st is the cutoff date for the Return to Skating grant. If you haven't yet applied and you're a skating school or a skating club, then you need to go to our website and you need to go and apply by, I think it's by midnight on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. The Skate Ontario Restart Grant, the provincial government cut loose $660,000 for Skate Ontario to distribute to skating clubs and skating schools. We've organized an application into 3 tiers. Please, 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 please go and apply. So May the 1st, 11:59 p.m., I believe, is the cutoff. You can go and apply and hopefully get some money to help restart your club. Because you know what? Just announced in the news that the COVID-19 virus has moved from pandemic to transitioning to endemic, which means it's going to be with us for a long time. There is no doubt, but it means it's positive things because it means that we can start to, reclaim our lives and live our lives a little bit more normally. So that's kind of it. Many competitions are sort of closing up shop for the season. There will be lots going on starting in the summertime again. We're still going to be, even though we're not going to be on the air in the summer, we're still going to make sure that you guys have all of the up-to-date information about who's doing what. So make sure you stay glued to our Skate Ontario social media channels. And I want to ask you guys, any favorite moments from the season? I know there are too many to count, but do you have any favorite ones?
Short answer, yes. Many. You know what?
I don't know what to pick.
I was thinking about this actually for the last few days and trying to almost kind of put them into like little boxes, as to who we've been able to talk to. And, between the skaters, there's so many great stories. And if you haven't yet, people, please check out our 3Turn 3 minis online. They give you little snapshots of the conversations that we've had with amazing Skate Ontario athletes, as well as Skate Ontario choreographers, as well as many wonderful Ontarians that, have just done such amazing things. Taller Cranston's sister, of course, putting together...
Philippa Barron.
Philippa, yes. Putting together the Bata Shoe Museum exhibit, montage.
No, that's Astor Burka. That's
Astor Burka. I beg your pardon.
Because we did one with Philippa too about the Taller Cranston Memorial Fund. So you're absolutely right.
Okay, getting those two confused. Sorry, it's hard to be pretty and smart, right, Peach? That's it. So just great people to be able to speak to and to hear their stories and to get more insight. It's just been honestly and truly such a privilege to be able to bring this forward for everyone to be able to see. And honestly, from just the bottom of my heart, being able to share it with you two as well has just been a joy.
Do you know what? And I loved talking to all of the Olympians who are from Skate Ontario who were at the Beijing Winter Olympics. That was a real treat. Maddie skis us. You know, just fantastic to hear from her. We haven't really had a chance to hear from her because she's still kind of fresh and new on the international scene. Roman Sadowski, his first trip to the Olympic Games and then to the World Championships. Just such a treat. Kirsten Moore-Towers and Michael Marinero were talking about Evelyn and Trent, or Trevelyn, as we like to call them. Who am I missing? The ice dancers. What's wrong with me?
Recall, cereal box people. I still have it upstairs.
Exactly. And I'm sure I've missed others. And then of course our competitors from World Juniors. So all during what we were calling hashtag World Season, to be able to connect with these different athletes has been just a rare treat indeed. So Leah Pereira, thank you so much for being the representative for all of the World Junior competitors, where Skate Ontario collected, let me think, 2 medals in ice dance.
Mm-hmm.
And Canada collected an additional medal in the men's. So in ice dance, it was Natalie D'Alessandro and Bruce Waddle who took silver, and then Nadia Wyszynska and Peter Beaumont who took bronze, also in ice dance, and then Wesley Chu from British Columbia, bronze medalist in the men's event.
And the pair event as well from...
Oh my goodness, what's wrong with my brain? Okay. Charlene, you take over the pairs.
I was just waiting for you. I'm like, and there were some other disciplines that went on.
So sorry, Brooke.
See, people, this is unscripted. We're doing this right off the top of our heads. So, you know, we're trying to do our best, make notes here and there. But you know what? This is live.
Brooke and Benjamin, bronze medalists. And, you know, I selfishly was very, very pumped about that one for obvious reasons. They looked pretty cute up there on the podium, not going to lie. And you know what? It's a testament to like what talent we really have in this province. And I love that we started the spotlight on this show and we've had the opportunity to work together and really get to know some of these skaters and these, you know, stakeholders in the community. And I think that some of my favorite, you know, guests on the show, some people were exactly what we knew they were going to be. They were just rock stars, and you know, they left us with all the good feels and all of the little snippets that we wanted to go back and actually listen to, because there was actually a lot of wisdom in there. And then we would have guests at times where I would be so surprised by the unexpected wisdom about something completely different that I wasn't expecting to hear. And I just hope that, you know, all of you at home have been getting something from the show, just as we have, because I really feel like, from a personal standpoint, that I've grown by getting to share with all of these wonderful people. And, you know, this image doesn't even capture all of them, which I think is so,
not even half,
so powerful. It's like, look at this powerhouse image right now. And, you know, our guests are above and beyond this. So I'm feeling very, very grateful today, as much as it is a little bit sad that it is the last one for now. Super, super grateful.
I think so too. And I feel terrible about Brooke and Ben. I'm going to feel terrible all day long. Just know that. But I knew, that's why I kept thinking, there's 3 Skate Ontario medals from the World Junior Championship. Skate Ontario medals. Where are they? And then, of course, we'd be remiss if we weren't talking about World Junior Synchronized Skating Championships and World Synchronized Championships. World Synchronized Championships taking place in Hamilton. Canada brings home the gold with Les Suprêmes, and our own Nexus from the Skate Ontario family finishing in 4th place. Fantastic performances all the way around. And then we had the World Junior Championships, and we had I think 5th and 6th. Is that right? So Nexus Junior was at the World Junior Championships. So we're going to get our backstage producer to maybe look that up for me, because again, I should have looked at it briefly.
Not coming in your ear yet?
Fortunately, you don't do this alone. So Claire on the air, She is backstage making sure that everything goes according to plan. Thank you, Claire. We couldn't have done this without you. That's for sure. The other thing we want to talk about is, or I want to mention, is it was so much fun to have you guys live and on the ground at a couple of different events. So Claire on the Air was at Nationals for us. And then you two rascals, Charlene and Mazin, you were at our provincial championships. And then where else did we end up this year? Or are those the only two?
Well, I was at Synchro World, but I wasn't so much live from there, but I was present.
Hosting.
Yes.
You were present and accounted for.
I did have fun at provincials though with Mazin. That was very hilarious.
It was, because I was sitting here in my office. Otherwise, it was my bedroom. See, I've changed vistas though. Don't you think this is more slick looking? Anyway, so we've just had a whole lot of fun, and we hope you have had too, because it's been wonderful to share this with the audience. Skating family is the best family, and we've all been in skating up to our eyeballs for really our whole lives. If you guys, before we get to our Skate Ontario Spotlight, if you guys could give me, I don't know, just one thing that skating has taught you over the years, that being involved with skating is a lesson that you've learned that you wouldn't have learned anywhere else.
This is a good one. Do you want to go first, Mazin? I see those eyebrows.
I'm just going to say, you know what? Perseverance. Honestly and truly, you keep striving, you keep wanting to be better, you keep learning. The moment you stop learning, that's all there is to it, right, folks? But you keep learning and persevere in and amongst, usually some obstacles, right? Skating can be tough. Being judged can be difficult, but at the same point in time, you persevere, you put one foot in front of the other, you try to get better each and every day. And so that's what skating has taught me.
I want to go next, Charlene, while you're still thinking. That looks like your thinking face.
It was my listening face, but go ahead.
So mine is basically, it's twofold. Run your own race and don't let results define who you are. It's just something that you did once, but for better or for worse, run your own race and just don't allow results or really other people to define who you are. Okay, Charlene, I didn't give you much of a break.
I was ready secretly. I was tricking you. I think, aside from the fact that have grown up in the skating world, like skating has raised us, so all of the life lessons we can probably attribute to skating, but for me, reflecting back upon my own skating career, and then when I came back to the skating world years later, it's really been a labor of love. It's been giving back and being that person that I needed. And I think really like being true to who you are and discovering who you are, because I think for a lot of us, the ice is that safe space where we can be 100% organically ourselves and learn who that is and express it in full. And, I think that the most success that anyone has in their skating career comes at the pinnacle of that moment where they finally, are able to express who they truly are. And, the world's a stage, but skating is a performance. And I think in stepping out of the performance and into yourself, I think that has been my greatest lesson.
Do you know what? That's wonderful. I want to also encourage everybody who's out there, who's part of the skating family, that we are a very, very big and diverse family with diverse interests, diverse groups of people. And one of the groups of people that really makes this sport run is the volunteers. Without the volunteers, the baby competitions all the way to the top competitions would not happen, because it takes truly the efforts of many to create that opportunity for one skater to get on the ice. So we're really excited today that we're going to be able to share with you our second Skate Ontario Spotlight. And it's with a man called Paul Cotter, whom you may or may not know. You'd certainly know his smiling face from around the rink for the last 35 years. But what you'd really know is his voice. Just an outstanding PA announcer who has been at every kind of competition from bottom to top within within Skate Ontario and within Skate Canada, as well as having held lots of administrative positions at the club level and then at the section level when we were still Central Ontario section. Just one of those cornerstone people that the events team and that the events really couldn't run without. So without further ado, let's have a listen and a look at our Skate Ontario Spotlight, Paul Cotter. Paul Cotter, thank you so much for joining me and as one of our Skate Ontario Spotlights. It's so good to see you.
Fantastic. Great to be here, PJ.
You and I have spent more than a couple of events sitting, side by side, not necessarily always as announcers, but we're both announcers. We usually cross paths over events. But how long have you been actually, I like to call them stadium announcers?
I have been doing this for, believe it or not, 35 years. It all started back at the Scarborough Figure Skating Club where my daughter was skating at the time, and not to be one to sit along the sideboards listening to everybody else yakking. I really wanted to get involved. And so I ended up getting involved administratively. And then one year at a club competition, they needed some help and said, could you possibly do this? Well, I'll give it a try. Don't have any training, but that's where it all began. And here we are today.
It's so funny about announcing. I don't know of a school for announcers. It seems like many of us, myself included, just kind of think, what, I could probably do that. I'm going to give that a shot. And the worst thing that happens is that you only do one competition. And the best thing that happens is that you get to travel the country back and forth, meeting with friends, and just watching a sport that you obviously came to know as a dad, but you've come to realize so many things about the sport in your own right. So tell me some of the best things that you've learned as a result of being involved in figure skating.
I think just the whole volunteer aspect, and skating in Ontario was built on volunteers. And you had an opportunity to work with people who were involved for the right reasons. They were involved because they wanted to be there. They weren't paid to be there, but they wanted to be there. And they wanted to do the very best for the skating community. And I think that was probably the biggest single attraction. And you had some very, very competent, capable people who wanted to give their very best all the time.
What's so wonderful about the period of time in which you've been announcing? There have been some true legends that have glided across the rink in front of you. Are there any performances or any competitions that sort of jump to mind as highlights for you?
Well, it's interesting. After announcing, I figured somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 competitions, a staggering number over those 35 years. It's very difficult to think of, very specific ones, but a couple come to mind. And the first one being, it was a Special Olympics competition here in Ontario. And in this particular event, there were two boys. On the warm-up, one of them fell and hurt himself. And they had to help him off the ice. Of course, he was upset. He was crying. The other skater left the ice with him. And he sat in the players' bench while the warm-up was still on. And he would not come back to the ice to finish warm-up or compete until he was guaranteed that his friend was going to be able to skate as well. So it was that evidence of true sportsmanship that shone through. And that's just at a sort of at the lower end of skating. Probably the big highlight from a international type of event was 2007 World Synchronized Skating Championships in London, Ontario. And that event had about 14,000 fans. The place was absolutely thunderous. The building absolutely shook. It was just an unbelievable experience. Those are just a couple that come to mind.
You know what? I remember that synchronized skating competition. And I remember, I think I saw you in the back hallway and I said, it didn't really matter what you said because nobody could hear you anyway over the cheering.
It was an unbelievable experience.
It sure was. Can you tell me a little bit about the relationships and what being an announcer at figure skating competitions has added to your life?
Wow, that's a tough That's a really tough question. I think it's just the giving part. Uh, it's extremely gratifying when people recognize you. They appreciate the volunteerism. They appreciate the effort. I've always taken great pride in treating all skaters equally. I've always believed that every skater that steps on the ice, it's an Olympic moment for that skater, regardless of whether they're a can skater or whether they're an international competitor. And it's the fact that they appreciate that we put in the time, the effort, the planning, the training, the preparation for those events. And they're extremely, extremely grateful. I've often heard the words, "Oh, this guy is the voice of skating." And it's extremely flattering. Hardly necessarily the truth, but it's certainly a very flattering thing. But it's extremely satisfying to know that skaters, coaches, volunteers appreciate the effort you put out.
And you know what? I don't know an announcer that works harder than you do, as far as the preparation, as far as making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And from the outside, I mean, some people just think of us as read alouders. And yeah, we read aloud. But honestly, there's a lot more to it. Did you ever let the pressure get to you? Did it ever feel overwhelming?
I think there's always the jitters, the nerves, etc. And when you slide into that chair, particularly at an international event, and you're always intimidated by the situation and hope you never make a mistake. And of course, sitting beside you, perhaps is the infamous Peter Crick from the ISU, and we've both had the opportunity of working with Peter, and truly a very, very demanding individual. But it was interesting because he always brought out the best in everybody, and he ensured that you arrived prepared and ready to go to work.
So I have sort of another little question, and yes, Peter, we love you if you're watching, that's for sure. I just kind of want to know, yeah, absolutely. And some of the funniest stories in skating have come from Mr. Crick, I'll tell you. I want to know from you, if somebody is watching this and they're interested in becoming an announcer, is there a clear pathway?
Well, it's interesting because I have certainly over the course of the years, I have trained, I don't know how many different people. I've conducted training courses in several provinces. I've over the course of the last 10 years, I've also conducted several webinars in Skate Ontario back in the 17, 18, 19 timeframe. Unfortunately, COVID came along. Yeah. And so it was a great introduction for and opportunities for skaters, coaches, volunteers of any kind to get involved and to be an announcer. And once participating in that kind of a webinar type of activity, then I really encourage them to try to get involved even at the local club level for little star 1 to 4 competitions, etc. Just get out there, get practicing, and stay in contact with your local club, stay in contact with the section of your interest. It's there. The opportunities are there.
I want to know. So Scarborough Skate back in the days where you got your start. Scarborough competition is where it all sort of closes up. Last event, tell me about that.
Well, that was just the last 3 days. Yeah, it was unbelievable. The club, of course, has been extremely supportive and appreciative of mine and Judy's efforts over the last 35 years. And it was really quite amazing. The committee was extremely gracious, grateful, presented me with a wonderful recognition, and we're going to continue that on. But the Scarborough Skate of this year was very different than those of yesteryear, in that this was a bring on the fun competition. It was 900 skates. It was on Sunday. We had, I don't know how many hundred skaters involved in team elements, absolute chaos on the ice, but a huge amount of fun. The joy, the smiles, the excitement of the kids to be back on the ice, absolutely amazing. And I was literally shocked at the number of skaters and coaches who, once they had heard I was hanging up the microphone, came over, gave me a big hug, and were extremely appreciable of everything I've done, and expressed their regret that I was leaving.
Do you know what? We all feel that way, for sure. Do you have anything that you can say about volunteerism? As we started off this conversation, it is the backbone of our sport. Is there anything that you can say about having been a volunteer for all of these many years?
Well, volunteerism in skating, certainly in particular, the sport was built on volunteers. If we look back at in Ontario, the sections that we had 50 plus volunteer board members who were very actively involved in the operations and organization of the sport on a continuous day-to-day basis. Now, in 2017, we kind of flipped the charge, and we formed Skate Ontario in effect, and we consolidated those sections all at that time. Unfortunately, we may have lost our way a little bit with respect to the appreciation and the usage of volunteers. And I really am hopeful and optimistic that Skate Ontario is going to get back on track, and they're going to more actively involve the volunteer community, because unfortunately, there's a huge number of very highly skilled and trained volunteers out there that are not being taken advantage of. And I think if we can learn to recognize that they can make a huge contribution, if we simply acknowledge them, treat them with respect, treat them as partners in trying to grow the sport, in trying to administer the sport, etc. I think it'll make an absolutely huge difference on a go-forward basis. And it kind of takes us back to our roots in how this sport was organized and grew over the last 50 or 100 years.
You know what, Paul?
Paul Cotter is what she was going to say. So some traditions never die, and we are still finishing your sentences, PJ.
You know what? This hasn't happened since I was in Beijing. So I don't know exactly what just went on there, but I'm so sorry. But our entire interview will also be posted under our spotlight section in our, what do you call those? When it's playlist. There we go. On our YouTube channel. So make sure that you watch it there. And it's a funny thing about volunteering. It is so important. And sometimes there are very well, prepared volunteers, very well trained volunteers who, for whatever reason, don't get the call. And that happened back in COS days, as well as maybe a little bit here now as well. So it all depends on your perspective. So Paul, great tips, great things to sort of think about, and just a wonderful career as a volunteer. And that was pretty much our last question anyway. So I'm so sorry. I just got kicked out. I got kicked out.
We all did.
It wouldn't be 3-turn-3 if there was not some hint of technical difficulty.
I know. I'm going to blame Claire on the air, who's in the background. She probably didn't do it, but let's just say...
Don't blame her. She's a mother.
That's true. She is a mother.
Day. Come on. It's not Claire. It's just the 3-turn-3 ghost.
It's, the gremlins. The gremlins. Anyway, Paul, we love you. Not hearing your voice around the rink is going to be something that's extremely
different.
You're going to leave big shoes to fill, shoes to fill. And, it's funny. What I've always said is that announcing is one of those things that good announcing you don't hear, but bad announcing you hear and nothing else. So 35 years of not making any mistakes has been something that's been super important. And you know what? All kinds of great comments coming in. Here's one from Mary Harrington, who's known Paul for a long time. We've known each other a long time too, Mary. Congratulations on your wonderful contribution to skating in Ontario, Canada, and internationally. That could not be better said.
Absolutely.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any recollection of hearing the announcer as you were getting prepared to skate during your competitive days?
Yes.
No, just being panic stricken in that moment. I was not a good competitor. I was very nervous. So they would say my name and I'd be, oh.
They'd say my name and I'd say, do I have to do this? The door slams behind you and you think, oh, why did I say yes? Okay. Mazin, your story.
So mine is a little funny, of course, because hence just pronounce my first name, Mazin. And very often, you know, when first starting out in skating competitions, I know that my name was spelled correctly on all of the entry forms, but nonetheless, it might have been pronounced a little differently when you're ready to take your spot out onto the ice. And I can remember, for those that remember going from sectionals to divisionals, the first time I made it through to divisionals, my name was announced for me to go out to take my position. And all of a sudden, my name was pronounced differently. And rather than take my spot, I went over to the announcer's table. I skated over to the announcer's table and I just said, "Hi there." I said, "I just wanted to let you know that my pronunciation of my name is Mazin." And went back to the entrance, the door entrance, and my coach just kind of looked at me at the time and said, "What did you just do?" And I said, "Well, if I'm going to do this all the time, I want them to know how to pronounce my name, you know." And then I took my spot. And I mean, I remember that day. My parents remember that day sitting in the stands thinking, what did he just do? But at the same point in time, that's my recollection of announcement and announcers at events. And I didn't do it to make the person feel badly. I just thought, if this is something that I was going to continue to do, you know, season after season and whatnot, I thought to myself, you know, I better help them out a little bit. This is how it's pronounced.
Do you know what?
How old were you when this happened?
You know what? I was
13?
probably, yeah, like 14.
You had some
14,
courage.
15, yeah, that type of thing. Yeah.
I'll never forget being in a competition early on, and I've been announcing for about 30 years. And I was at a competition early on, and I'm really good. Like, I speak a bunch of languages, so usually I'm good. The one I'm not good with is Gaelic.
Yeah.
So young Miss O'Donnell was coming to skate, and her name was spelt like Caiome. So I looked at it, and you know, when you're at the low level competitions, I know when you're looking at, listen, my grandmother was in an O'Neill, but it doesn't mean I was going to get through that one very well. And I just looked at it, and I just thought, okay, Caiome. So Caiome O'Donnell is what I announced, because I didn't have anybody to ask, you know. And at the lower level competitions, there's like a gazillion kids, and you're going to do your best with all of the children, of course, but it's not like you have time to prepare or to go and ask. Anyway, the mother came stomping over to me, and she said, "Are you the announcer?" "Yes, yes." And she said, "It's Kiva. And I said, "I'm so sorry. And where's the V?" So she said,
Gaelic will get you. Gaelic will get you every time.
Every time. So anyway, I haven't made the same mistake with Kiva ever again. But, you know, like, and then my other favorite announcing story is actually an Elvis Stoico story. It was like his first international competition, and he was like a baby skater, like 12, 13 years old. And he was in an international country, and they used to do the draws. I don't know if they still do, where they would have like the kids all dressed up in their team uniforms and whatever, and they'd have to go and they'd have to put their hand in the bag to pick out the number. So this was the men's event, obviously, because that's what he was competing in, and it was probably a junior level competition. Anyway, he's sitting there, and the person who's sort of conducting the draw and sort of announcing the draw announces Alvin Steike, and he's looking around, and he of course doesn't make a move. Alvin Steike. And he still doesn't make a move. And the person says for the third time, Alvin Steike, Canada. So he looked around, and there was like, he was the only men's competitor at that time. So then he realized that they were actually not knowing how to pronounce Elvis Stoico. So every so often, just for fun, "Hey, Elvis," I like to call him Alvin Steike just to make him laugh. But it's a super important job, and one that the skaters love you, and you're right, you will be missed. For those of you in our audience, if you have any great announcing stories or great Paul Cotter stories, feel free to leave them in our comments, and I'm sure Paul would love to see them. One last bit of news before we go. This is National Volunteers Week. I'd forgotten. Yay! How exciting is it for us to have a spotlight on a volunteer?
It's very on brand. Well done.
Yeah, as with everything else, totally by accident, but nevertheless. So
happy accidents.
yes. Now, don't forget the Restart Grant, Skate Ontario Restart Grant that closes in 2 days. You want to make sure that you get your application in if you're a skating school or a skating club. We're 3turn3. I'm going to leave you guys with the last word before we say goodbye. Mazin, Charlene, what do you have to say to our audience?
Go for it, Maz.
Oh, listen, one more note. You know what? I'm happy to help to promote this. Milton Figure Skating Club is having an ice show this weekend. And Olympian herself, Maddie Skeesis, will be performing in all 3 of their shows. Tomorrow, Saturday, 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock, Sunday, 2 o'clock, and it will be held at the Milton Sports Center. I'm actually heading there right as soon as we finish this, and getting ready for dress rehearsal that's going to take place this afternoon and this evening. So if you've got, it's a beautiful weekend, come on out and watch some amazing skating going on.
So, Mazin, do they get tickets by going to the Milton Skating Club or Milton Figure Skating Club website?
It's the Milton Skating Club website. Yep, that you can purchase tickets, and or of course you can purchase tickets at the door as well. But you know what? It's going to be a fantastic weekend. You know, the sun is shining, spring is in the air, and skating's going on. And what do I say? But this has just been a treat, a real treat.
Imagine
Charlene.
that just brought such a smile to my face. I forgot about show season because we haven't gotten to enjoy it for so long. So I feel like, outside of this window, I would imagine that the birds are chirping a beautiful song to celebrate that statement. But that's amazing. So, you know what? I think this show came at the perfect time when, the world was starting to peek its nose outside and like skating is back in swing. And I think it's been such an honor and a privilege to get to work together with the 2 of you and Clea on the air, in ushering skating back to life. And I love that it kind of is, coming to a culmination during show season. It has been the time of our lives. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, audience. And by the way, I just want you to imagine me, my very first skating show. I was a daffodil. What were you guys in your first show?
I think I was like a sleeping child in pajamas, the very first one, but I've been some questionable characters for sure.
What about you, Maz?
You know what? I feel like I remember that it was like a can't skate time. And of course, I'm of an age where it was really hard to try to find black skates. So I think I had white, little figure skates on people. And I think I was a ringmaster, a circus ringmaster.
Nice.
The boys.
Oh, he had a solo. I see.
No.
Yeah.
The boys were all from Can't Skate. The boys were all little circus masters, right? Ringmasters.
That's
so
so cute. Carnivals get so fun. Like I think I remember being like Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation one time with a whole group. It was like before flash mobs were cool.
Got it.
Well, it looks like Doug Haw, a regular watcher. Hey, Doug, he was Cupid. Okay.
Also on brand. Love that. Love
and
that
Claire on the air doesn't know this, but I just brought her online so that she could say, Claire, unmute yourself. Tell us what you were for your first skating show.
I was a Christmas present, complete, like in a box. Like my arms were sticking out of the side like this. And I had my helmet on. So,
well, as I said, I should have been probably more bulb than flower, given my adorable little lusciousness at that time. I was like, that was our big move, by the way. You just saw it trademarked. Nobody can steal it. But you know what? So much fun. So all of you skaters out there, enjoy the shows. All of you parents, enjoy the shows. And we have really enjoyed this show. This has been 3turn3. You can relive all of the episodes on YouTube and on Facebook until we see you again, which will be later on in the summer, I'm hoping. So thanks again, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.